Director of Information and Learning Technology with Byron Public Schools, and also adjunct professor from Winona State University. And today we have a Google Hangout between my grad students in a program called the Innovative Instructional Leadership Certificate Program. And right now our course that we are working on is the Connected Educator, Connected Classroom course. And with us today is Mandy. Mandy, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your kind of backstory?
I'm Mandy Fralick, and I am also an adjunct for our instructional technology students who are undergrad students working towards their education degrees. And so we're excited to connect with Jen's class and learn about how they are using innovative strategies in their classrooms.
Okay, so I think you guys have a couple of questions. I have 9 or 8 educators here today, and I guess we'll just start. You might have to adjust too. So go ahead and ask your questions and we'll have a conversation.
Okay, so our first question is, when you go about creating a lesson and you know that you are going to try to be innovative and insert technology, sort of from the beginning, how do you go about deciding on the technology and finding your standards and creating those lessons?
That's a very good question. I think my name's Mike Mangan. I'm a band director here in Byron. And initially what I've done is I've taken essentially traditional lessons and hybrided them into more technological lessons with technology. So I'm including Skype, and I'm connecting with other schools in southeastern Minnesota and things like that. So it's taking things that I've done in the past and kind of hybriding them with things that I can do now to connect with other people.
Some of the things, I'm Janelle Grayler. I teach communications and English at the middle school. Some of the things that I take into account is workflow. What's going to make the workflow a little bit easier on my end and a little easier on the student's end. So I try and find things that are actually going to make and enhance what we're doing and make things easier for both me and for the students in some way, shape, or form.
Jen Green, I teach high school English and math. And I think it's always important to remember it's not the technology that you're teaching, it's the lesson first, it's the standard first, and then you find whatever technology supports the learning, not the other way around. So you find what supports your objective, and it might be this lesson, it might not be the next lesson. So it's finding the right tools to support your objective, not finding a cool tool and then retrofitting it to your class.
I'm Aaron Murray. I'm a health and FIAD teacher here. One of the things that's really nice about our setup is it's a one-to-one iPad district at the high school level, at least for me. So all the kids are plugged in for the most part anyways, and so finding ways to adapt is fortunate because it's pretty seamless. I mean, we use Google Docs. All the Google technologies, I mean, is really seamless between teacher and student. So we can use it to our advantage just to keep track of things, be better organized, and collaborate on a lot of different things. And it really opens the doors to a lot of different projects that you do want to try. But like Jen said, you have to be careful that the lesson comes first and you're not using technology just for technology's sake, but there are so many out there that really do bump learning up to a higher level, and that's what you kind of have to strive for.
I'm Corey Graham, elementary innovations teacher, and one of the ways that I really like using technology is to connect the students to others, making sure in some ways making their world smaller and bigger at the same time. So I have a lot of people either reading to classes from all over the country or from different countries, and also doing mystery Skypes. And so that way, you know, here in our smaller town in southeastern Minnesota, we get to know that there's a great big world out there and that we can connect to others easily using technology.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Our next question is, how has forming a PLN using social media or being connected changed or support your, how does it change or support your professional practice? Excuse me, if you could give specific examples, like how did you connect, what was the result, that would be awesome.
No, go ahead.
I missed a little bit of.
Yeah, could you repeat the question? I'm so sorry. Could you go
Yeah,
on?
no problem. It was kind of a long one. How has forming a PLN using social media or being connected through social media changed or support your professional practice? And if you could give like a specific example, like I connected with this person and this is what happened.
All right, I can start. This is Corey Graham again. The way I got the job that I'm currently in was definitely, Twitter played a big part of it. Jen Hegna and I had not met in person when we probably connected on Twitter about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, even though I had been teaching in a district only 15 miles away from here. At my past district, I was feeling very much that silo experience that I'm sure you probably heard about, teaching by myself, not really feeling connected with many other staff members and things like that. And so I used Twitter as a way to connect with other educators who kind of believed in the same things I did, had similar ideas, similar thoughts. Met Jen on Twitter. We continued to communicate over the years. She let me know how a job was opening within the district. I was able to interview for it and luckily got hired. So definitely Twitter and being connected has helped me a lot as a professional, as a teacher.
And can I just put my 2 cents? It was the way that Corey used her professional network. You know, I could see she was learning and she was trying to engage students by connecting. So that's really, you know, when you think about your footprint and opportunities to go and go on and get hired somewhere, you know, do you have a footprint? And if you do have a footprint, what does that footprint tell us about you as an educator? So somebody else.
I'll jump in again. I didn't have a Twitter until I took this grad school class, and that's just because I didn't feel a need for it. But I'm really glad that I got on board now because part of this class is reading about PLNs and then kind of putting that into perspective by using them and actually going on Twitter and trying to forge new relationships and meet people and bounce ideas back and forth. And for me as an educator, it's been really successful. I mean, even today, someone in my cohort introduced me to somebody else, a way that they use Twitter as a study tool, and that they've got specific times that their whole class can be invited on Twitter and they'll study together. And then I tried it out, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. You just got to look for it. And people are willing to put it out there because a lot of teachers like to be proud of their stuff, and they'll put it out there. They say, hey, this is what I'm doing in my class. And then, you know, you can follow them and learn that way. And then, of course, there's all kinds of hashtags relating to your area, whether it's band or health or, you know, STEM, whatever it is. There's all kind of chats, you know, slow chats or structured time chats that people are talking all the time. So it's really good to seek those out and then follow those and just keep your, you know, keep your ear and listen to stuff.
Something I did for quite a while is I had a pretty big blog roll that I followed, and I had a lot of people who did a lot with technology things, and so they posted new free apps or ways to integrate a variety of technologies, and that was something that I looked at all the time, and I was able to even share things with other colleagues about what things I was seeing. And so you're kind of taking what the best is of what other people do, and they typically tend to share their best, or if it isn't their best, then they share how they would have improved it. So you're seeing a lot of things that people have already tried, and then you can kind of find a way to integrate those within your own classroom. And so those are something that I find were really helpful to me because I found a lot of tools that way that I wanted to use within my own classroom.
I think the other thing is like there's always been professional learning networks, like when you get a job and in your building, and they exist. But the future of, there's no doubt about it that the future is technology is a part of that environment now. And there's so many hurdles if you only have the resources in your own building. So going and discovering all of these other ideas from people that are doing it, especially like, let's say if you're in a smaller community, you find a job or you're student teaching in a smaller community, you're limited to the amount of resources and people that have experience in that. And even ideas on what to do in your classroom, like even getting away from technology, just coming up with ideas. And once you're connected with like a professional learning network, that network is always there to use. A funny thing that happened in Byron is I sent a tweet and it connected with people that I had known long ago, and somehow got all the way back to 10 miles down the road. So the network is kind of runs full circle as well. Can we just see a show of hands? How many people have some sort of Twitter account currently? Do you have to for the class, or is this on your own?
Oh, they say both, but that's not true. It's not required, but encouraged. I told them, I think it was last week, that I felt like some of them felt like if I said the word Twitter again, they were going to like throw an apple at my head or something. But I encourage it, and I issued a weekly Twitter challenge, but they are not required to open one for Twitter.
And how many people use Twitter in a professional manner, like to find out about classes or to connect with students beside elsewhere? Does anybody do that, or is it more just kind of social, personal kind of stuff?
Anybody using it professionally? Okay, well, my other class is really good about it, just for the record.
Oh, that's good. Do you guys see yourself using it professionally in the future?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on something Jen said, you all have personal accounts right now. Those need to be very different and probably very separate from your professional accounts. And that's something you're going to want to think about as you move forward. What is that digital footprint? If we Google you on a job interview, what are we going to find? If we search, and those are things that are going to very much be a part of your employment future. And so cleaning up that digital footprint and separating those accounts, not that you can't have a personal life, but keeping it separate. I have 2 professional accounts. I have an account where I just post student work, and then I have an account where I'm building a PLN, I'm posting students, other things, I'm looking for those connections. So really starting to draw those clean lines so that, social stuff doesn't crop up in your feed that your parents are looking at.
Right.
Anybody else?
You guys have any questions about so far? All right, well, that was awesome because you pretty much reiterated what I had spoken with them about 2 weeks ago. We went through and read some articles on positive digital footprints, and then I actually did have them Google themselves and take a look at their Twitter accounts and what came up under images. And the first time that we went through this, when I started to get their Twitter usernames, the first image that came up when I searched was a picture of a puppy drinking out of a beer bottle. So we had and it took about 3 minutes to find that. So we talked about that and what that, needs to look like going forward. And like you said, how, it might not be something that they want parents of kids to see. So they cleaned that up, and everybody's looking good now. But it was something that we needed to talk about, and I think it's important, it's an important conversation to have, so.
Oh, great conversation. Good. I think that it's really good for us to hear this about the professional and personal, but if I made a professional account right now, I would not have any other people be able to have a professional account with. know any, I don't have any homework right now.
Okay, do you guys hear that?
No.
Okay, she's gonna say it again, only much louder than that.
Okay, I said that we hear loud and clear about like the professional and personal accounts, but the only thing is if we had a personal or a professional account, you don't have anyone to be on the professional account with because you're not in our profession yet.
But you do, because you can start following teachers who are in your specialty area and start getting tips and tricks from them, and you can start following chats for your area, etc. So you might not think that you have a professional network, but you do, and you can pose questions to that network. So if you find people who are inspiring within your area, pose questions to them and they can give you responses back already. Even though you don't have a classroom, you can have a professional account where you are getting ideas and finding things already before you're even within the classroom, or then when you do start student teaching, you get help. I just posted something today about a note-taking app and what would be the best one out there. And I had a couple people retweet it and I've gotten a couple responses. And so, you know, it happened this morning and I've already got a few responses on what I should be using.
And I think Janelle really brings a good point up. So if I'm going to be a Phi-Ed teacher, you know, I can go to Health Chat or Phi-Ed Chat, or there's another one called Slow PE Chat. And already I can start connecting with teachers that are in the field. So, you know, you can build a great network. And by the way, there's one called New Teacher Chat too.
Yes, yep. I don't know the hashtag.
I think it's NT Chat.
It's, yeah, for people who are in teaching programs currently, that questions that are exactly to what you're experiencing while you're in college. So yeah, there's a lot out there. And just as another example, currently I've been having some college students that are in education classes reading to my students. They're in Pennsylvania, Grove City College. And so those pre-teachers have been able to have experiences where they're actually interacting with elementary students, reading books. So you might even be able to have some opportunities where you get to do some teaching experiences before you have your actual practicals or, you know, student teaching experiences too, by connecting through Twitter. I guess that's my point.
And you have 9 educators in the hashtag WSU cohort 1 that you can connect with too. So I think there's lots of opportunities, and it's just, you know, finding those little nuggets and people to connect with, and just realizing it's just out there. You have to go and start grabbing that. Any other questions? That was a great question. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? What's your hashtag again? WSU cohort?
Yeah, I just tweeted your hashtag with our hashtag. So you should be able to grab it, but it's WSU, Winona State University, cohort 1.
All right, awesome.
And the other thing that's happening right now with this cohort is they've been sharing kind of some of their lesson things, what's happening in their classroom. So it might even give you a perspective of what this connected learning looks like. So, and it's not as big as some groups, so it's great.
Our blogs too.
Oh yeah, and I'll send out their blogs too.
We tweet those out too.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
All right, any other questions?
Do you guys feel like you're adequately trained to enter the education world of technology, or do you feel like you could have more?
We're getting an overwhelming, definitely more.
What are your biggest strengths right now?
What? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, what are your biggest strengths in reference to education and technology?
How long is your group been going, Mandy?
Well, this would be our 5th week. So, and we really have it's across the board on how comfortable they are with technology. There's some, that I'm pretty sure that I could put into a classroom tomorrow and ask them to integrate the technology, and they would be successful with what they know. And then I have some that I know are not comfortable enough with technology to use it tomorrow. So I'm trying to hit, both ends of the spectrum as far as both ability and interest level, just like in a normal classroom. So we're working on that. But what would you guys say your strengths are?
Well, just experience, I guess, because we've been using technology since we were, most of us, kids. So it's the basics is fine, but it's just actual programs in the education world is what we need, I guess.
Who came from a one-to-one school? Anybody come from a one-to-one school?
So the one-to-one, remember we talked about this, is when every student has a device.
Oh,
Hey, did anybody? Just one, two? We have two that came from one-to-one school districts. What was your question?
well, I was just gonna say that we know how to use, I would say that most of us know how to use the technology. We know how to make a PowerPoint. We know how to use like Google Drive and those sorts of things. We just don't know how to use them effectively, where the learning is actually happening rather than just teaching. You know what I mean?
Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of experience comes with playing and trying. You don't necessarily know it's going to work until you actually put it into practice. There's a lot of technology that I've tried and has absolutely failed, and that's totally okay because I tried it, it didn't work so well, we tried something else the next time. You just have to learn how to play with it and see what is working and what doesn't work, and then keep refining what you do that does work and say, okay, if this works, now how can I add that? And that would be the thing that, when I went through, I learned PowerPoints and spreadsheets. We didn't learn anything else in my ed tech class, and everything I do technologically is because I played with it and I tried it and I tried to figure it out and figure out a way to use it as a benefit for me. So that would be something I'd say, just keep trying things, because otherwise you aren't going to get experience with it. If you're too scared to try it, you probably never will. So just try things and be okay with failing, because that's totally fine. And most administrators and teachers will tell you that they've failed multiple times in their career.
And don't be afraid if other teachers that you're working with aren't trying things. Give it a try yourself. Even if other teachers, maybe shy away from technology, if you think it might be something that the kids are going to really benefit from, then give it a try and find out, because that's, like Janelle said, that's the only way you're going to find out. So don't be intimidated whether or not other teachers you work with are, and don't be intimidated by those teachers that really have used a lot of technology in their classroom, and honestly go to those teachers and ask them for help. Because those are the teachers that are going to really be able to help you figure out the best ways to incorporate tech into your lessons.
One of the defining traits of teachers is that we all like to be in control. It's partly why we choose this job. And one of the hardest things with technology is you can't play it all the way through without a classroom. So you sometimes don't know how is it going to actually work in practice, and you can't know it until you do it. I'll one up Janelle. My tech training consisted of one class where we went and learned how to thread a film, and it was ding beeps, and you guys even know what that is. That was it. That was my tech training. This winter, I had this great online reading platform, thought it was going to be awesome, started downloading it in class, and we crashed the program server twice. Epically failed, had to adjust, had no way of knowing that until we got going. So we got tech help, we tried it again, got it all loaded. It never did work right. We tried for a week and a half to get it to work right, and it wouldn't work. So you go to plan B. But I didn't have any way of knowing that, and I had to take the chance to put it up to the kids. I walked in and said, hey, let's try this thing. And they're like, how does it work? I'm like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And the kids will help you learn. You will learn from them, because the teacher side of apps and the student side of apps often look so different that you can't simulate it. So you have to just sometimes leap and hope you land safely. But if you set it up right, it usually ends well. It just, you can't plan for everything, and you can't know what's going to happen every single day. As much as we want to, you can't.
Well, and I just want to say, even this experience for Mandy and I just had this feeling of like, something's going to happen, something's going to fail, but we felt pretty passionate about the learning experience between, first of all, my students, and then all of you, and the opportunity to connect and have a discussion, that the learning trumped any kind of technical problems. And the other thing is yes, it could fail, but that's not going to stop us from trying.
Awesome advice. Any other questions? No?
We really want to hear you guys talk more, so.
Well, we are going to break into groups.
Good.
So we're going to have some mini groups now, and actually we're right on schedule. It's almost 6:30. So I think the idea for you guys, the K6 group is going to stay here, and I have Corey, Tracy, Katie. I put you in the K6 group. Aaron and the rest of the team, we're going to go into the media center, and we'll just start connecting our groups, and then they can ask more questions and have more conversation. Is that okay?
Yeah, all right. Sounds good. Now, do you guys have access to our questions that we came up with?
I didn't get that to them yet.
Okay, do you want to do it, or do you want my students to bring them up?
On the fly.
On the fly. Unless your students want them.
They're feeling a little nervous, so I think they want them. So I'll just have them bring them up on another computer.
Yeah, have them bring them up on a device, whatever device. So at least somebody has them. But I can guarantee you'll have great conversations.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, so you guys want to come over here?
So we're gonna break into anybody from secondary have a laptop or something with them that they could sign in and bring up the question? I have that shared with you, that document that I shared, where you guys put all your questions on there. I took them and kind of combined them into one spot. I created a purpose.
I don't know.
Very good. All right, so secondary, you guys are down the hall. First door on the left. My computer should be in there, and I'll be right in there.
Let's sit here in these four.
Down? Yeah, just a little bit. Good.
Are we all here?
We're all here.
Can you guys?
Let me fix you. Why don't you guys move this way a little bit?
We have to school.
Did somebody bring up those cards? You got them here?
Oh, like, yeah. Right there. She's on the door. Yep. 3, 1.
One of those where it's taught online, but you gotta make sure you're on mute.
But then we have to stand there and be
Okay, are we ready?
You are.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so can you guys introduce who you are and what's your background in education in reference to what content area you're going into?
Okay, my name's Jody. I am a dual early childhood major.
I'm Anna.
I know you.
I'm early childhood.
I'm Hannah, and I'm just elementary. I'm so first through 8th. I'm Brittany. I'm dual middle childhood.
My name is Carlin, and I'm an elementary teacher in language arts minors.
I'm Taylor, and I'm early childhood with English second language minor.
I'm Carly. I'm a straight special education teacher with psychology minor.
I'm Morgan, and I'm a straight elementary education major with a language arts minor.
I'm Cora, and I'm early childhood education.
I'm Laura. I'm an elementary education major with a language arts minor.
I'm Lauren, and I'm a dual special ed and early childhood major.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm an early childhood education major with a minor in language arts.
I'm gonna just move the camera so we can actually look at you. Does it feel kind of weird what we're doing? We'll try this. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got tilted up a little
I
bit.
can't see your head.
Take that little pad
down.
there that Jen had it sitting on, the green one. Yeah.
Is that better or no?
To the left.
Your left.
And then higher.
Oh. Maybe it won't work.
There.
We'll just do this. That's okay.
Oh. That's fine.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Go for it, Tracy. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Tracy, and I teach elementary special ed. I'm licensed in ASD, EBD, LD, and reading.
I'm Katie. I teach STEM at the middle school, so 5 through 8, and I'm actually licensed for life science teaching grades 5 through 12.
And I'm Corey, and I teach innovations in the elementary school, grades 1 through 4. And right now, that's kind of the tech class. Next year, it's going to become a little bit more STEMish. I am licensed K through 6, and I have been teaching for about 20 years. And before this, I taught kindergarten for 7 years. And I've taught all grades K through 6.
I'm Mike, and I'm a K-12 instrumental music educator. I taught 5 years in K-8, and then 6 years in high school instrumental music, and now this is my 2nd year in Byron, so in which I'm a middle school band director.
Okay, so
What's your burning question?
Okay, I'll start off. Okay, our first question is, what do you do if students don't have any access or opportunities to utilize technology outside of the classroom? How would you give students the opportunity to use technology outside the classroom on assignments if they don't have the access at home?
Well, I guess we don't have a lot of work that's required, being an elementary teacher, that's required outside of the school day as far as homework and the technology. But we do have iPads in our school, so there's that option. Another thing is, kids are always encouraged to be able to go to the library and use those resources. What else? Any other suggestions? Seems like everybody has a smartphone, regardless.
I think that a lot of technology is used in the classroom as well because of that reason. Because even if the platform is different at home, that will impact like what it is. So for example, if you're using iPads in the classroom, but those iPads can't be taken home, which is often the case in an elementary situation, then the classroom is where a lot of that interacting with technology happens. So it's just kind of the state of affairs until it's like, until they say it's like a road where everybody just can have the technology to use. Until that happens, you kind of have to accommodate that, which most people do just by using the classroom time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys, when you think of, when you think of like technology in the classroom, what do you see? Like, what do you think of?
Smartphones, iPads,
Laptops, yeah.
How are students using those?
Yeah. I was in a classroom the other day and observing a second grade classroom, and I saw the students using the Chromebooks to log on to, I don't know what this site was called, but it was like an interactive site where they could like click through their videos and stuff about like pulleys and levers. So it was integrated with that, which I thought was kind of cool to see in the classroom.
Oh, they're still moving?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You're back. You were frozen for a little bit.
Oh, you were too.
But now you're good.
Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, tell the last part of it. We heard you were in a classroom and they were using Chromebooks.
Yeah, and they had like this program that they all like logged right onto, and it was little like modules that they had to complete. So like they watched videos and like did interactive things where they like clicked and saw like different pulleys and levers and how they work. So that was kind of cool to see the technology actually in the classroom. And the students obviously have done it before because they just grabbed their books and like logged right on. It was a super easy transition. So I thought that was kind of cool.
One thing I'll add is when using technology, and we've kind of said this before when we were in the big group, but as much as possible, like I want to make sure when my students use technology that it's for something that they can't do necessarily without technology, so like for sure, I don't want them to just practice math facts on the iPad because, oh wow, look at me, I'm using technology, because that's something they could do on a piece of paper to practice their math facts. But if they could create like a, I'm just coming, like use pictures where they put the pictures together using some sort of an app like Pic Collage or something like that, where they show the addition, maybe they picture of 2 Legos in their classroom, and then they have 3 chairs in their classroom, and then they make a 5 and put that all in the Pic Collage together. That's the kind of stuff I want to make my students using technology for. So I want them creating things. I want them to be able to show what they know versus just using the technology to replace a piece of paper. Does that make sense?
I think also like when you all become educators, are you all planning on becoming teachers?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So when you become teachers, like education continues to become so based. Everybody hear that? Standards based, meaning that your students are going to have to show that they can apply the concepts, not just understand the knowledge. So, I mean, I almost feel very bad for you because it's very challenging to do that. And we're not talking 5 of your students in a class of 20. You have to have all of your students show it, and then they have to be set to a certain level on a rubric as well. So that's where, like as she talked about technology, it's like the application of it. You know, so I think it's important to understand that you have to, like, technology is not just, you don't use it just to come up with, okay, now I'm going to take notes on my iPad. You use it because you're going to integrate your iPad and showing that you're understanding the concepts. Does that make sense? Because, so, and I think that's different for when you know, it will happen for us, but I think as you become, when you get your job, I think it's almost 100% sure that technology is going to be majorly required for you to integrate into your classroom. And it's going to be all about application. So, you know, saying that, what are some ideas? I mean, can you come up with ideas that you might have for lesson plans that you can kind of foresee yourselves doing in a clinical or any sort of environment where you could learn technology? How would you do that?
I know kind of in class that we've talked about with Mandy is she's given us a couple of the educational applications that we can use, like on iPads or something, like Flickrs, Education, yeah, Kahoot. But I mean, just finding different ways, even in our class, to incorporate those into somehow learning. I know we used Kahoot last week in class just to, I mean, we didn't do anything educational with it, but you could still do a test somehow with that and get the kids interactive in that way, which is what we've been kind of talking about throughout her class a little bit. But
what are you afraid of most in becoming new teachers, technology or not? That's just a. What are you excited for most? I mean, we're teachers, we're here, and we've got a lot of years here, so.
We're nervous to pass our tests, like the Praxis 2 and the Fort. And then nervous about actually getting a job.
Or going into student teaching.
How about our first year of teaching?
I guess it's because we've been in classrooms our whole college career. We haven't been out in the field as much as at least I would like to have been by now. So it's still so overwhelming because I have studied the theories for almost 4 years now, and I still have not applied anything that I know into an actual classroom, which is a little frustrating and scary for the first day, I guess.
So when do you start your student teaching?
I have in the spring semester, I will, so 1 more year.
Okay.
But
So one of the things that, you know, I think the challenges for me was to become like, when I first started teaching, was I felt that I couldn't be transparent. Like I had to follow a certain route, you know, template. But I gotta tell you, like, the best teachers I know are the ones that like just throw things out there, you know. And it's like, and that's one of the things about technology is you put yourself out there, you know, and you're rewarded for it. And that's the thing. So it's like you've got access to, you know, resources that we didn't. So if you start connecting now, like a lot of those job worries or even resources, taking the Praxis test and everything like that, like you could use those. I'm sure there's tons of hashtags for the Praxis test. I mean, just think of how many people have to take that. You know, so people, there's a lot of different ways. So that might also contribute to like building a professional learning network or community. So.
And I definitely think, like, when I first got on Twitter, I think I've been on Twitter now just about almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in April. And at first, I was connecting with a lot of people not in Minnesota. And now I find myself connecting more and more to people who are actually in Minnesota. And so it's kind of exciting to think about how I can actually meet these people face to face, in person, and really make some good connections, you know, with both administrators and teachers and all sorts, school board members. I mean, it's just unbelievable that then I can go to, you know, a conference that might be up in Minneapolis and be able to meet these people in person and really get some great ideas. So, you know, depending on how you choose to follow people or who you connect with on Twitter, you may at first be connecting with people that aren't nearby, but little by little, you'll be making connections to people who are nearby, who can, you know, help you get a job or give you a recommendation and those types of things. Or perhaps, you know, you might end up deciding that you don't want to stay in the Midwest, and because of a connection through Twitter, you might be able to find a job out in California or Florida, those types of things too.
All your anxieties, like, I remember that very clearly, you know, and they kind of take over your life, don't they? But I mean, there's impressive things that come, especially for people that, you know, I've had student teachers before, and the ones that have impressed me the most are the ones that, like, you know, they kind of take the initiative to try new things, and they don't sit in the back of the room and they don't just watch, they take chances. You know?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Sorry,
oh, that's okay.
You know, ask questions, ask lots of questions.
So and I think every connection, like this is a connection right now, you have to take advantage of this, and you have to connect with us, because I mean, I know people in Oshkosh, you know, I know lots of people in Eau Claire and all over Wisconsin. So it's like you start these connections, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to see these names pop up. You know what I'm saying? So it's a small world. It's a small world.
So right now, actually, you've been given an opportunity to start building on your professional learning network early and right away. So I guess take advantage of that. And one thing I've learned, I too am pretty new to Twitter, and I've been in a couple of chats, both within our cohort and outside of the cohort. And I'm amazed at how many people have started following me just from being engaged in chats outside of the cohort. Those chats are a great resource for information and access to people who will help you answer your questions or come up with a solution, brainstorm with you.
What other questions do you have for us?
Most of them are just technology related and how to incorporate them in the classroom.
Do you want to know those questions, or are there other questions you'd like to know?
How do you like keep students on task when they use technology, and how do they, or do people get distracted using different types of technology, I guess?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I mean, gaming is a huge issue now that we have the iPads, and I know I just have a little sign on my whiteboard that says, you know, one side's an iPad with it turned on, like technology okay to use versus technology should be put away, flipped over, we're doing something else. So I know little managing stuff like that helps students if they're really engaged in projects. That kind of takes care of that issue. So just finding different projects and how you can differentiate it to what their interests are, kind of take care of that problem.
So I think there's two things that I heard there is, you know, first of all, you have to set some rules in your classroom, and you know, you'll want to be walking around, right? You're not going to want to be at the front of the classroom just, you know, doing your thing, because they may get off task. And the other thing is about engagement. So if you have really engaging lessons, you know, you don't have to compete with, you know, Clash of Clans or whatever the games are. So,
and I think too, the more you can get to know your students and know, you know, there are some students, not to say that they should be playing a game the whole time, but there are some students that can still be paying attention that may not look like they're paying attention. And if you know that about your student, you're going to be able to, you know, figure out what needs to be done. That if there's a student who, you know, is not paying attention and also going around with their iPad or whatever, then you're going to have to talk to that student. But if you know that it's a student who can still pay attention, is right there with you during the activity or the lesson, then, you know, that's what you have to do. You kind of have to figure out your students and work with them versus working against them.
I think it's just like another thing, like, I mean, students could have like Rubik's Cubes, right? And they could be sitting there playing with them. I mean, you almost have to treat your technology like that. So when you set up your classroom and when you have a, you know, guidelines or a syllabus or whatever you're using to kind of outline your structure of your class and what the expectations are, you just include that in that, you know? So I mean, as a band director, I have all of my students have the tuner on their iPad and they have a metronome on their iPad, and they use it quite a bit throughout class. And I just had the expectation. And initially I had some people that tried to kind of, you know, they would play games and stuff, but you get over that and then they use it for what it is, so.
And probably my guess is by the time you guys are teaching, you know, kids these days in the elementary school, we have kindergartners coming to school where tech is so much a part of their world now that it's just gonna, they'll know too. And they'll know when you give them expectations, they'll know that they need to follow them. Because it won't be as much of a special thing as maybe it is still for some of our students.
Yeah.
I have a question. So how do you modify the use of technology for like students that may need modifications? Because I'm going to special ed, as are many here. And if it's like an inclusion setting, how do you meet the needs of every kid with using technology?
It just depends on the student. Again, I'm Tracy, the special ed teacher. It just depends. Honestly, with having the technology, of all the classes we've needed to modify, that's the one we modify the least because it's just designed for everyone, universally designed. I guess, you know, we just take into account of what the student's abilities are. You know, is it a physical disability? Are they able to type? If they aren't able to type, let's just do a speech.
Voice to text.
Yep, a speech to text, so it's typed for them. There's readers, if they're a struggling reader, screen readers that can read things to them. There's a lot of variety out there. Any other questions?
Kind of linking, not with special education, but with incorporating technology in younger classrooms, like, so do even like the kindergartners or someone walk in with iPads, or is everyone in the school, depending on the school district, given an iPad or a Chromebook, or depending on the school district kind of thing?
Depends on the grade level. High school, you're 1-to-1, right? Or
So middle school, right, currently our middle school runs 5 through 8 currently, and the 7th and 8th graders currently take their iPads home and they have it all the time. All of the 6th graders currently actually have a 1-to-1 iPad, but they have to be left at the school. And that's very common when in 1-to-1 programs in the elementary school setting. You know, and that might change. you know, there are districts out there that actually do allow their students to take them home as well. Have you guys ever done like online classes at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that similar? Like how is that set up? Are there a lot of conversations or is it more like a lecture type setting?
It's both. We have a lot of discussions, so we have a discussion board and you're normally put into small groups for that. And then you are required a minimum amount of posts that you have to do, but they always want you to do more. So in order to be in the discussion, you have to have your own first in order to see everyone else's.
Are those video or are those just written?
It's all written, no videos.
No.
I
I mean, there's some.
Yeah, I had one that was supposed to be, but it didn't, like, technology just wasn't working, so it just got canceled.
What other questions do you guys have?
Do you use technology to reach out to the parents too?
Yes. Lots of ways, you know, of course, there's email, we do surveys, the grades are all online in Infinite Campus. We got a lot of variety.
Yeah, or even many teachers have their classroom websites
Yep.
where they post examples of the student work. So that's one way to reach out to parents.
Do you guys use like Google Docs or Google Drive or anything to share information or assignments or anything with the parents so they can stay caught up with what the students are doing or anything like that?
I mean,
Well,
I've actually taken, I don't use any paper anymore. Everything that I have is actually categorized in my Google Drive, which is kind of nice because I can access it from anywhere. And the other thing is we also like, if there's examples of what the students are doing, you can put a video into Google Drive and just share the link, you know, as long as it's appropriate and legal and all the legality of it. But you can share the link so parents can kind of see what's actually going on in the classroom as well. I've also used Google Groups before, and that's a great way because you can literally just shoot something off to all the parents, you know, once they're signed up for the Google group, and you can do that whenever. You know, so if you have an upcoming project or you have an upcoming event or something's going on, it's so easy to just send that off. So the ease is there.
Have either of you or any of you had an experience where you've sort of connected with another classroom, maybe in another country? How has that gone for you?
Yeah, last year I was teaching kindergarten at a different district, Triton, and I started this thing. It's called #CoreyTellers, and so I would, and you can look that up on Twitter. I would just ask people if they would read to my kindergartners. The town I was teaching in before this was even smaller than Byron. And so it was really important for me to try to let my kindergarten students know about the world. And so we ended up having, I think it was like 40 different teachers or students, or some of them weren't teachers, they were just adults that were willing to read to them. But about 40 people read to the class, and they were from 25 states and 5 different countries. And so we would label where they all were from on a map, and we kept a list of who read to us. And it was just a really neat way. We had one person who was teaching over in the United Arab Emirates, and my kindergartners could find that on a map of the world, and they could tell you how it was nighttime when he read to us, you know, at 11 o'clock during the day or whatever. So it was a really neat way to connect my students to people around the world. Now this year, with me teaching this innovations class, I've had to change it a little bit. We're one week a month. on kind of doing video calls, and some of the classes are doing things called mystery Skypes. And that's where you connect with another class from wherever, and each of the classes ask each other yes/no questions about where they're located, and then they try to guess what state or country they're from. And then usually if we have time, the students then get to ask each other questions about their school or their town. So again, it's just another way of connecting students so they can learn about other places around the country or the world.
Cool.
Yes.
I think we're about ready to wrap up. I know the other groups are coming in. One of you guys asked about the home connection, and if you're in the or just starting to research that, there's an app called Seesaw that has quite a bit of potential, and it's basically like an online learning journal, and you can connect parents to it. And so if you think about collecting artifacts of learning, and parents can comment on their student stuff, so that would be an app, especially in the elementary, I would highly recommend checking out.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're good on that then. Thank you for allowing us to ask you these questions and taking the time to answer them for us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, good
No
luck.
problem. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're waiting for the. Hey, and I have to give a shout out. I don't know if they're in here or not, but Ann, Jody, and Morgan just followed me on Twitter, so I'm going to shout out. So hey, you guys are already on the right path of getting connected. Anna, Jody, and Morgan.
I'm a loser. Oh, I did. Yeah, I'll do it again. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was involved.
Did you stop the broadcast? Did you guys stop the broadcast?
Yes, we did, and we loved it.
Thank you.
I did not love that.
Okay, are we all back together?
We are.
All right, so we're going to practice a little metacognition right now, right? Let's think about our learning, and I'm going to put my grad students on the spot here, because what they're learning about right now is talking about learning about being connected educators and connected classrooms. So I would love to hear from my grad students about their thinking about this learning experience for themselves and the future.
I loved it. I loved talking to people who are going to be teachers, and any chance I can hear their questions or help them out, I think that's great. So I love opportunities like these. I think it's a great way to get you guys hopefully excited about becoming teachers and connecting with others.
Anybody else?
I'll go. I am taking this class, but I'm also going for my master's in the educational leadership class, or the educational leadership degree. And what's been really hard for me is that I am in 2 other grad classes with no other educators. I'm with all like sports management people or healthcare professionals. And so it's been really hard for me to sit in some of my classes and actually connect and talk about other educational realm type things, because they kind of look at me funny. So it's kind of nice to come to this class to be able to do that.
Well, tell me, you have a path that you're planning on taking, right? Are you thinking principal?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm not taking that.
Well, I know we have at least one. Let's hear from Michael. I know you're kind of doing the path to principalship, right?
So I'm also currently getting my master's and then going to do my principal licensure as well. And I think like going into a realm of administration, I think of like what, where are teachers at? And I think that with the idea of adding technology, there's more opportunities for you to kind of display your teaching skills, or your other skills that you have that you can bring to education. I think for the more like you interact and connect with people, I think the better it is. And like we connect as a cohort here, but the 9 of us are connecting with you there, however many there are, and then hopefully you're connecting with other people. So I think that's how change is brought about, and that's what makes great educators, is that they connect, not only with students, but with other professionals. So.
I'll speak to, I have an administrator at home as a husband. He's a principal of an elementary school. And so most of our conversations are education related, which is terrible and awesome all at the same point in time, because it is all education all the time for a lot of it. But I think connecting and asking questions and learning from other people is really the best way to do it. I almost had my principal, I almost had my master's in administration, and then I decided I didn't want it because I didn't want that kind of, the more I had talked to people, I was like, I don't want that job anymore. And so I've kind of switched directions, but talking to people and learning about what their experiences are really does help. And not only that, but try and stay connected with the younger kids, you guys. I always like to say, oh, I'm not that old, as I gradually am getting older and older, but keeping those connections with people who have been growing up in current things. We ask our kids all the time, all right, someone else help me out, help me do this. Because, they also have been doing the problem solving, the troubleshooting, they've been growing up with it. And so keep those connections, and that's hugely important.
For me, a night like tonight is the ultimate pay it forward. I'm kind of with Corey. I love to talk to young teachers. As we shared in this small group that we were in, I love my job. I love my job every day. I'm the cliche when people talk about it. I get super excited about my kids in my classroom because I love it. But people invested in me. People mentored me. People helped me be better all the way through in every step of my life and every different job that I've had. And I have a responsibility to the profession and to the future students to do the same thing for other young teachers in the building, other new teachers in the building. And so it's just that continual cycle of investing in people and paying it forward to make sure that you guys get off on a good start and are successful early and often.
Anybody else? Okay, it's your turn. I'm just curious if a few of you want to shout out your learning experience tonight and thinking about your thinking.
Or some of your best takeaways from your conversations. Well, I created a professional Twitter account, so that's
I got 3 new followers tonight.
Yeah, I got a shout out to Taylor and Adam too. Way to go.
Anna, Jody, and Hannah. Nice work.
Oh, all right, awesome. What else? Come on, guys. I know it's late. Let's go. What else?
I really liked how you guys acknowledge the importance of not implementing technology just to do it for fun, because I think that would be really easy to do when there's like a new cool app or like a new cool device. But I think it's important to remember, like you guys said, to remember like what's the standard and what's the end goal, because ultimately that's what we're here to do. So it was nice to hear that reiterated and reminded to us.
Okay. What else?
I think I just want to say, like, I'm sure Jen is gonna send all of our Twitter, or we'll tweet them out to the the cohort, or you can follow us. But you're always welcome to send a message or follow any of us, and I'm sure that we'll just do the same for you. So that's a big encouragement. I might be speaking for people, but that's okay.
We love people who join our I mean, if you have a question for our cohort, use our hashtag. We're watching our hashtag really close, and so don't feel nervous about connecting and reaching out.
I know that the Phi Ed group was really excited to be able to talk about the Ed TPA because their ancient instructor didn't have to do one, and so they thought it was super awesome that they had somebody to talk to about that.
Yeah,
Excellent.
they got it. You just gotta bite your lip and get through it. You will.
All right, anything else?
All right, well, this is going to be archived. I will tweet out the links, all of the different links to the Hangouts if you guys want to. I don't know if you have e-portfolios, if you're capturing any of that, but this will be archived for later use. And you know what? I'm super excited for you guys to join us today. So good luck to you, and hopefully we'll see you online.
Yeah, and from me as well, thank you so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate you guys taking the time to connect with us. This is just an invaluable experience that we've given them because they don't always have access to teachers, especially ones doing the amazing things you guys are doing in your classrooms. So we really appreciate you taking the time to work with us.
No problem. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
You too.
Signing off. Here, let's get this stop the podcast.